Hey guys, what's going on? This is Adam Everett Miller with aetutsplus.com, and today we are going to be looking at a quick motion graphics effect that I used for the introduction animation for the 10 tight tips to turn out terrific typography series we did here a couple weeks ago here on aetuts. You can see the effect here, and it just kind of creates it's kind of text coming in, but there's a little bit of a motion trail that's happening behind it. So first we're going to look at the layer style and how we kind of created this look, and then afterwards we'll move into animation. So first thing I want to say is looking here, I went to Graphic River because I had seen some of these text styles before, and I found this one for $4 by Designer Cow, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I had never really played with Photoshop text styles before, so I downloaded it, and there's a lot of really cool options here. So if you go and look up at the description when I have the word layer styles, this is the link right here. So it'll bring you right here. And there's a bunch of other different layer styles that you can get off of Graphic River, so be sure to check those out. But I'm going to be doing this one, this new 3D text styles. So once you have it downloaded, I'm just going to go right into Photoshop and assume that you have purchased it or downloaded it, or if you know how to make your own, you can. But essentially what it does is we have our background layer, and then it is created two different text layers. And so it's got one on the underside, which is just a combination of drop shadows, inner shadows, a beveled edge. It's got a number of different here blending options, but a number of different layer styles which when put together kind of create this embossed look, as if this text is extruded. And you can see that the lower one is slightly smaller. Oopsie. You can see that the lower one is slightly, or the layer, I'm sorry, underneath is scaled down a little bit, and that just kind of creates this feel that the text is coming out at you. So what I'm going to do is, instead of even opening up in Photoshop, and this is the top layer, and then that's the bottom layer, I'm just going to go right into After Effects and import our text. So let's see here. It was one of these, the yellow one. Yep. So and there's lots of different text styles you can get, but I'm kind of just covering the basic idea of start with a text style, or start with whatever you want if you can make your own in Photoshop, and then moving from there. So this is the yellow one, so I'm going to open it up, and let's go retain layer sizes, and I'll click open, and we want editable layer styles. Yep. All right, I'll click OK, and here is our comp. Awesome. Well, we have our layers, our background layer, our bottom layer, and our top layer. So what I want to do is, before we move forward, right now it's just treating it as such, as a layer. But if you select the text and just right click on it, you can go down to convert to editable text. Now it's going to prompt you saying, hey, we don't have that font, so we're just going to replace it with our own font, and that's fine. In fact, let's grab it, and by selecting everything, we can change it to our own aetuts plus. And then we will select, plus. Okay, there it was. We'll select all that, and let's just change it to our own font. Well, not our own font, but another font that we have, Jolly Rancher. And let's do the same thing here for this bottom layer. We will right click on it, convert to editable text. Yep, I know we don't have it, that's fine. And then by grabbing it all, we can write aetuts plus, and then let's change it to the same font. So now we turn it back on, and we're looking good. That is pretty much what we had over in Photoshop. Just wanted to point out, really kind of cool, the bottom, as I said before, is scaled. So if we were to unlink these, you can see that it's scaling this one separately, but it's by default set, in this case, to 95.9. What you can do is you can, let's just set this one to 100, back to normal. And then, as another kind of cool option here, is let's go ahead and maybe take the top layer, and we'll just hit shift and over arrow once, and then we'll bring up our position, set a keyframe, shift, page down a couple times, and then let's go shift over twice as well. Okay, so now we can see that it's going to be, it kind of almost looks like this text is 3D, or that we're moving over this embossed text as we, as we animate the position on top. Something as simple as this, all you're doing is just scrubbing. I mean, if you really want to look at it analytically, you're saying, okay, obviously I can see it's just one layer moving over another. But especially if this is done kind of quickly, or if it's done in a combination of other things, you could really sell the fact that, oh yeah, cool, we're dealing with 3D text, when in fact it's not 3D at all. It's just simply, styled well, so it looks as if with the gradients and the shadows and overlays and everything, it looks as if that really is in extruded text. So that's one thought. Let's back it up and go back to where we were in the beginning with, there we go, our back layer slightly scaled down. What we want to do is we want to, we have both layers. We want to create a motion trail here on this bottom one, and that's what I did for the preview. So I'm just going to deselect the top one, and we're only going to work on this bottom layer. So if we go over to Effects and Presets, we can hit Echo, or type Echo, and then we will drag and drop it right there. You're going to see that it kind of creates this extra funky thing, and I think the reason for that is just because it's interpreting it differently than over in Photoshop. But if you come right into layer styles here, and we choose the drop shadow, if you take that off, actually no, we don't want to get rid of drop shadow. Which one was it? Outer glow, that was it. If you get rid of the outer glow, that should deal with that problem. So now just double checking really quick. Okay, we're still looking good. So now that we have Echo, let's take a look and see what Echo does. Well, first we need to have some sort of movement if we're going to see it echo. So let's move it here to frame 1, and I'm just going to hit S, Shift P, and Shift R to bring up the, and I guess Shift T, to bring up the rotation, scale, and position. So let's go ahead and keyframe all these, go back to the beginning, and first off, let's grab it and maybe bring it over into this corner, and then we can maybe rotate it that way a little bit. And then lastly, let's make that uniform and bring the scale down to 0. So now as we look at it, bring it forward a little bit more, we can see it kind of jumping in. But you notice that here it has this second version. It's an echo. It's almost like another iteration of the movement. And so let me just work really quick. I'm going to turn this off. I want to make this movement a little smoother, so it's kind of going and everything is very solid, and ka-chunk, it goes right in. Let's go right here in the middle, grab this, and then let's just kind of curve it out a little bit, just so the movement feels a little bit nicer. That'll kind of let it come into place a little smoother. And then of course we can select all these guys, right click, and then go down to Easy Ease. Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, and of course that will make it just kind of feel a little bit nicer as it kind of comes in. Beautiful. All right, so now we'll turn our Echo back on. Let's go ahead and look at the different features of Echo. Echo time is how long is it until it creates another copy of itself. And so if we alter this a little bit and we were to scoot it back, we can see, now it's going to be easier if we have more echoes to work with. So we can see that it will create multiple versions just like this. I'll just reset it to its default, which I think is, yeah, it's 33.3. Basically, how long does it take until it creates another copy? So if we make this 0, or if we make this number, let's go negative 0.005, which means it's like instantly going to be creating another copy. It's going to bring, it's going to bring all these copies right up next to it. Of course, you can still see the copies, but they're so close that it makes it pretty smooth. And so number of echoes, we'll turn that up to 25, just so we can see it does extend back further. I will say we're going to turn this up a little bit more later. We'll probably turn it up to 100, but for now I'm going to keep it down to 25 just because it does increase your render time. Starting intensity, we'll leave that. Decay, basically, this is simply, if we turn this down, we'll notice that it will start to fade out here in the distance. So as we lower that, we can see that the iterations are slowly just going to like lower in opacity, and they're just going to kind of almost feather off into the distance. But you are noticing that the layer styles do affect the way that it looks, and so as it's backed up here, the layer styles affect the layer as a whole. They're not scalable with the layer. So as a result, even when you back it up, you're still getting some issues there, or it's changing the way that it looks, but not a big deal, especially as it starts coming in forward. But let's go ahead and just leave this at 0.9 for now. And then lastly, this echo operator, I like the way that blend looked, so we'll change it to that. And let's hit 0 to do a quick RAM preview, kind of fading in, coming into place, and that's not bad. And everything else should fit, although I will say it's still a bit fat. Not bad though. What we can do is we'll pop on, we'll bring it to the final position, we'll turn this other guy on, so now we have the layer in front. We'll take a second. We know that it's not looking great, it's looking kind of fat, which we'll deal with here in a moment. But first thing we need to do is make sure that the top one is going to move equally with the bottom layer. So we'll go ahead and parent that, making sure that we're in a good position. So now it'll back up with it. Great. And then now let's deal with this. Since we already have the drop shadow from the top layer, now we can go in and let's knock out that drop shadow. And that's looking pretty good. Move here a little further to the end after all the iterations are gone, or all the echoes are gone, and I'm pretty well satisfied with that. Might not be exactly as crisp and dark as there, but especially just for the example here, it's looking pretty good. Last thing I want to do is go back up and let's turn the number of echoes up to 100, and let's see what that wants to do. Again, remember render time is going to be up a little ways, but we can now see that we have kind of a nice motion trail coming in behind, and with the blending and the decay on, you can see that it kind of creates this nice feathered dropout as the text comes into place. So it's a simple effect. It's really not, there's not much to it, and I know I've seen other echo tutorials out there and certainly other things about layer styles, but in regards to what I did specifically, that was basically it. And then from here you can have it animate out and scale it up so that it looks like it's kind of shooting towards the screen, and that's how you do it. So hope this was beneficial. I hope you learned a little something, and yeah, I'll talk to you a little later. This is Adam Everett Miller with AEtutsPlus.com. Have a good one, guys.